Charlie Joe Jackson's Guide to Extra Credit. The conference or meeting didn't start off all that bad. Miss Farrell told my parents how smart she thought I was and how funny and how they should be proud of my winning personality. He's a true original, was how she put it. Humph, humph, my dad, who didn't seem all that impressed. Well, we do think he's a funny, great kid, said my mom, looking on the bright side as usual, but he needs to find a way to know when to be funny and when to be serious. There's plenty of time to be serious, I argued. I have my whole adult life to be serious. Charlie Joe, enough. That was Dad. He took a deep breath. Ever since you got into middle school, your grades have been getting worse and worse. It's time to buckle down and get serious. It would be bad parenting if we just sat here while you threw your talents away. Before I could decide if I wanted to argue or not, Miss Farrell reached into her desk and pulled out some sort of pamphlet or informative papers. I do have an idea that you might want to consider. I glanced nervously at the pamphlet. I was pretty sure it wasn't exactly an invitation to a video game school. My dad took a look at the front. Camp Read a Bookie? He said, smiling. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Mrs. Farrell nodded. Indeed. I gagged. Camp Read a Bookie? Are you serious? It's a wonderful summer camp, Miss Farrell said, with equal emphasis on sports and academics. My dad thumbed through the brochure or informational papers. Looks interesting. I was too horrified to form any actual words. This was my summer they were messing with. Miss Farrell looked at me. Now, Charlie Joe, I know what you are going to say about the idea of going to a place like this, but I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't think you would enjoy it. Yes, it's got some classwork, but it also has a typical summer camp with games and dances and all of that kind of stuff. Poor clueless Miss Farrell. She didn't understand that games and dances were just as much of a turnoff as classwork. But my dad was into it. I really like the look of this place, I have to say. He held out the brochure to me and grinned like an evil wizard. Want to take a look? No thanks, I said, but he gave it to me anyway and it was filled with kids reading and writing and doing other school type things. There was one kid in a canoe, but he was wearing glasses and an oversized life jacket, and he looked like he would have been much happier with a dictionary than a paddle. I tossed the brochure on the table and looked at my mom, begging her to speak up on my behalf or support my opinion. But I knew it was useless. The train to Camp Read a Bookie was leaving the station, and my mom wasn't about to lie across the tracks to stop it. But I was. What if I get straight A's this quarter? I blurted out before realizing it. No one said anything. I think they were all in shock. It's the last quarter of the year. How about if I get straight A's, you guys can't send me, okay? That sounds fair, said my mom, always ready to make a deal. My dad snorted out a laugh. Straight A's? You've never gotten straight A's in your life. Good point, I had to admit. You say all the time that if I only worked harder and concentrated on my schoolwork, I could get really good grades, I pointed out. That's a big if, Miss Farrell said. The quarter started over a week ago, and you're already off to a shaky start. I know it's a big if, I answered, suddenly very determined to pull this off. But if I can do it, I should be able to do whatever I want this summer, like sleep and watch TV and play with the dogs and hang out with my friends like a normal kid, and not have to go to some stupid summer camp that's really more like school. The three adults in the room all looked at each other. Straight A's, Dad said. Straight A's, with one B, I said, remembering my hopelessness at science. It should be allowed one freebie. A freebie, Mom said, cracking herself up. Charlie Joe, if I had known that it would take this for you to apply yourself in school, I would have shown your parents a brochure for this camp a long time ago. My dad got up out of his chair and walked over to the window where he could see a bunch of kids getting off the school bus. Pete and Timmy were there doing typical middle school things like jumping on each other, punching each other's arm, and laughing. Finally, my dad turned around and looked at my mom, who nodded. It's a deal, he said.